Welcome, my beautiful souls, and welcome, my gorgeous Sagittariuses. This is going to be your April 2025 reading. This will be for Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising. Many of you are intuitively guided. I thank you for paying attention to your intuition. Truly, I do. Some of you may be here checking up. You may be in love with the Sagittarius, platonically, romantically. And what I want to say, number one, if it's romantic, then I would also check out their moon if you know that, because that's their inner feelings. Um, but what I want to say is just be open to receiving messages for yourself. You know, these are what I consider soul to soul readings, soul connected. And we are all soul connected. We are the collective. So anyway, Sagittarius, I have a good feeling. What's that song? I have a feeling. No, I can't even think of it now. I have a good feeling. Uh, the reason why I get frustrated is because I feel like when a song pops in my head, it's a message to someone out there. It's like a song that will bring back memories, or it can be one of your spiritual team members trying to get a message to you, or just letting you know that they're there right beside you. Um, so, yeah. Anyways, August, Sagittarius, fire, fire. I feel like, as I was pre shuffling the deck, that's just what I kept feeling like, your fire. And I have a feeling your fire is going to be called into action this month, but something that I feel you're going to be very comfortable with. I feel like just get ready. That's really what I was picking up, like just get ready. But it feels like of something very good. Something that, well, we'll see. Let's just go to the cards, go to our guides, and let's figure it out. What's happening in the month of August? Though I do want to say time is fluid. We read through our spirit guides and they're not looking at a clock. You know what I mean? So the reason why I say that is, you know, let's say you missed the reading like when I first put it out. Don't even worry about that. I feel like a reading will find you, or you'll find it in your divine timing. And to me, that just means when you are open to hearing your spirit guides' messages, or like have the perspective that they really mean, that type of thing. So, anyways, let's go ahead and get into the reading. We will give Mother Mary the honor of opening up your reading for beautiful words of wisdom. We're going to use the crystal vision to clarify and go deeper, and deep we shall go. And we're going to use the psychic tarot for your main spread. Um, Not a deck that I use for you very often. It's funny because I was thinking that I let my intuition really decide what decks we're going to be using, and the psychic tarot was like calling to me, and I thought, well, that's not normally a deck I use for Sagittarius. Then I'm thinking, I probably always use it for you, but something is telling me that the messages is going to bring, well, I have a feeling they're going to be profound. We will use the major arcanas as our bullet points. And let's go ahead, bring the lid down, and let's open up this reading. Mother Mary, for my gorgeous and fiery Sagittariuses, what do they need to know? What messages of hope, whatever it is they need. Call to you, Mother Mary. right, that was like too many, but I feel like that card wants to come out. Just want to see if anything else wants to come out. Okay. So let's take what came out first. Enthusiasm. Nice. Enthusiasm. Whatever I'm most passionate about is the direction I flow. You know, it's funny when I receive this message, I often feel that for some, this is already answering your question. You know, like if there's something that you want to do, but there's some uncertainty around it, but you're passionate for it, I feel like that's your answer. Go for it. Take a chance, take a risk. All of a sudden, I'm feeling like the fool's energy. So for some of you, I have a feeling you're starting on a new adventure. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, I use the cards as tools, but often I pick up many different messages just from one card, and often I forget what I'm even holding. Whatever I'm most passionate about is the direction I flow. Period. And then we have Father. Father. A true Father is God in heaven who shines healing light upon me, my birth father, and our relationship. Father. It's interesting because I often feel when I receive this card, I mean, I have a feeling it means quite a few different things, but I definitely feel the energy of father figures as guides. Father figures who, you know, it's interesting. I feel like there are some father figures in particular that are, it's not that they're trying to give you energy, because I feel like you have the energy. I feel like they're trying to give you comfort, but comfort in your choices. Mm. Um, you know, it's like, speak to me. Speak to me often. Speak to me like I am right beside you, because I am. I am right beside you. And I always will be until we're together again. But we're not separated. Just our bodies, just our bodily forms, our human forms. Interesting. Okay. So we definitely have some, you know, I want to say dads, and that is the case, but I also feel, well, all of a sudden I feel like there's a grandfather who really took on the father's role. I don't know if the father like left this earth and grandpa took over, you know, as the father figure in your life, but I feel I did one hell of a good job. And I'm getting this vision of someone on a farm. And when I say a farm, I don't mean like, I don't feel like it's like a cattle farm or something where it is like a ton of work. There could be gardens. Yeah, there are gardens. I see gardens. But anyways, I feel like you may have been a city kid and then moved out into more of a nature, um, into nature. So, anyways, the messages I feel are just so you know that they're right here. They're going to be part of our reading. All right, let's bring in the major arcanas, which for anyone who's new, they're really like bullet points. Um, but they often tell their own beautiful little story. I feel like it often gives us the energy that's going to be called upon. So let's see. Let's see. The wheel. The Wheel of Fortune. Oh, it's actually called the Wheel of Fortune here. You know, this image, You can see this lady about to spin this wheel, which is your destiny. And remember that this is your destiny. This person has a blindfold on. So they're spinning the wheel, and it's like they're trusting in blind faith. Again, this may be where some father figures come in, making sure it lands on the right space, like the space that in your heart, in your soul, that you want it to. I feel like this definitely is representing, you know how I was feeling like you're about to take some type of an adventure? Where I feel like the wheel may be the beginning of it. But that means it's part of your destiny also. All right. We have the moon. Um, card of Pisces, ruler of Cancer. The moon, you know, it's interesting. I'm going to tell you what the meaning of the moon is, but I feel that there are some guides, loved ones, but guides who reach you through your dreams, give you messages. Um, it's interesting because I have a feeling you wake up and it's like, what was that dream about? Well, like, I don't understand why I dreamt that. I feel like you should write it down. Write it down because I don't feel like it's going to be the only dream. And I feel like when you start writing it down, even if it makes no sense, write it down the way you feel it. Um, but then continue that. And I have a feeling what you're going to do is you're creating your own story in a way. But it's what I'm feeling is like, what am I holding? The moon. I don't even know. But what I was going to say is I feel like there is some where your soul, there's like certain adventures that your soul came into this lifetime to have. And I feel like there are special spirit guides who are helping you to realize that. Now, you, like in this human form, may not even realize that yet. This could be completely unexpected, but it's really not. You know, it's unexpected to us on this earthly plane, but your soul, it's like your soul, well, it's like your guides are helping this soul dream to come true. Okay, that was a lot. But the meaning of the moon can talk about uncertainties. And she does have a blindfold on, but she's not letting that stop her. And there's people in line, like, I want to spin that wheel also. And the person in line also has a blindfold on. Interesting. Almost like it's saying blind faith is needed, but also to trust in it. And then we have Justice, card of Libra, which is interesting because I meant to do Libra's reading because I'm doing opposite signs again. But your name kept calling to me. So I'm sorry if there are Libras here. Um, but I have to follow like what I'm feeling, and I felt Sagittarius. All right, but anyways, justice. Justice is about finding balance. And sometimes we need to use that sword of justice to get that balance. And that just literally means there could be something that just needs to be cut out of your life. And the reason would be because it's no longer serving you. You know, when justice shows up, it usually means that something is unbalanced, but using that sword will bring balance. So I don't know why. I'm not feeling it's something major, major. Like, I'm not feeling like a divorce. I won't leave it off the table. And by the way, I'm not predicting, like, I feel like if you're going to go through a divorce, it's something you already want to do. because it is mirroring the wheel. It's interesting also. I get this sense where our guides know that you have certain dreams or you see your life a certain way, but it doesn't feel like it's measuring up to what you had hoped. But I feel like your guides are saying, oh, it's possible, my dear. But there is an energy, there's something that may be holding you back. It could be yourself, not trusting in yourself. And again, some of you are receiving real epiphanies when you're sleeping. And I feel like our guides will use our dreams, um, especially for those, let's say you have like, you're really busy through the day and to stop and try to connect is almost impossible. Well, your guides know that. So we'll talk to you in your dreams. Okay. The moon is also dreamy type energy, though. So it might be a little bit of both. I definitely feel like it is about uncertainty because of the blindfold, but it's not stopping her. All right. Give him a cut. Actually, I'm going to slide these over. I want them in the middle. And let's begin with the psychic tarot. Let's figure out what that sword is about, where you're going with the wheel. Okay, so we have emotional withdrawal. This is the Eight of Cups. So it definitely feels like you dealt with something of an emotional nature, but this is really about everything, right? This is about finding emotional clarity. And I truly love this image, and I'll tell you why. It reminds me of when I lived in Rhode Island. I was like a couple minutes from the beach, and I was at the beach. I was at the water all the time. And I preferred to go alone. But this is what this person is doing, sitting at the water's edge. It's like letting the tides take my worries away. When you see the Eight of Cups, understand that through this emotional clarity, you're moving to the Nine of Cups, which is inner harmony and fulfillment of wishes. But this may be what the sword is about. Could be just old emotional memories, things that didn't go right that you had hoped would go right. But who knows? Maybe they weren't meant to. Maybe something had run its course. We want to remember that we do run in 9-year chapters. And not everything, like, some things have an expiration date. Especially if destiny is involved. 8 is about a new beginning. So, this is definitely about a new beginning. Doesn't have to mean in all areas of your life. Really, in what areas you want. And then, interesting, we have the Seven of Cups. This could be why emotional clarity is first. Because in the Seven of Cups, well, it literally says choose wisely. No pressure, right? No pressure. But that means something of emotional nature is coming towards you. And you are making the choice of yay or nay. Seven of Cups can talk about chaotic energy. Looks like sign language. Like stop, go, forward. I mean, I have no clue, but it looks like sign language. That may be a clue for some of you. Okay, keep going. 2 cups right off the bat. We have firm foundation. Firm foundation. You know, this person's looking back, and I'm wondering if something of the past, like maybe a relationship, I'm just using it for an example right now, but it may not have had a strong foundation to begin with. And, the stronger the foundation in any type of situation, um, let's just put it this way, if a tower comes and tries to push what you're building over with that strong foundation, um, it won't happen. Interesting, my phone's ringing, I don't even know who it is. All right. Another water sign, 5 of Cups. This doesn't really feel like you. This may be why I was called to do your reading. 5 of Cups. This is asking you to ask yourself, what am I focusing on? And in the 5 of Cups, it is the energy of, well, it tells you emotional loss. Some of you can relate back to this father figure, and I also want to include husbands because all of a sudden I have a husband. 4, 5, 7, 8. We're just missing a 6. I feel like whatever I have lost, I feel like you're regaining, but in a different way. So let's say you lost love, or it didn't work out, or someone has left this world, not your side, just the world. This is really asking you to consider not staying in that energy. I don't know why I'm having a hard time saying it. Because in the 5 of Cups, there are 2 cups behind this person when they decide to make the change, when they change their focus, is really what it is. So it's interesting because there's a lot of energy where I feel like you're looking within your emotional house. And it does feel like something of an emotional nature is coming towards you. And in the 5 of Cups, if you remember, you can't see it in this image, but normally you see someone focusing on the cups that have been knocked over, but there's usually 2 cups behind them that they don't know about. 5 is change. 8, a new beginning. The 7 of Cups feels like an offer. I feel like the firm foundation is advice. All right. We have the 9 of Swords. Dang, first line. What? Um, they call that suffering in silence. The meaning of this card is unnecessary worry. And some of you, I feel like that's exactly why you're here. Like, I feel like some of your guides sent you here so that you can let some of this worry go. You can put it down, hand it over. Because this is a representation of what is not needed. The world. Your next chapter. Here we go. Coming under an 8, a new beginning. You know, it's almost like this first line may have been what you've been doing, like overcoming, trying to understand. You know, firm foundation is right in the middle right now. And it's really standing out because everything else is water except for the Nine of Swords. But again, you know, when it says suffering in silence, that puts a different tone to it. You know, and you may need just someone to talk to or like write it down, journal it, like get it out of you. Because the world is signifying that something has come to completion. But it is about what is next, what is new. And with you spinning this wheel, I feel like all is possible. And then we have judgment, which is called truth, which is your spiritual team. And I feel like they are just asking you to be very truthful with yourself. You know, let's say this was a old romantic relationship, but it just didn't go the way I had thought. And then look at the energy that it kind of put you in. And I get it. I mean, we've all been there. But I feel like, you know, Sag, you're not someone who I feel like likes living in the past. You're someone I feel who would rather just find that clarity, find that truth. And by the way, where do we have truth? Oh, right in my hands. And then move forward. So, anyways, this is your spiritual team. They have a message. They're calling you to the present moment. And there's a reason. They're sending you a sign because there's an opportunity for a rebirth. This is something new that's opening up in your life. And how do I love the judgment is mirroring your will, your destiny, and the world is right beside it. And I'm looking at the 21, which would be a 3 when you break it down, and that's the energy of joy. It's the energy of celebration. So I feel like judgment is just saying be very truthful with yourself as it relates to the things that maybe didn't work out. Maybe they had come to completion because otherwise what's coming in maybe wouldn't have come in. But this feels, in a way, it kind of feels predestined. And I'm saying that because I feel like your spiritual team really wants you to take advantage of this. And I still don't know quite what, except that we know that a cup is coming in. That cup can be, I mean, it can be romance for sure. But it can be something that just truly just makes you happy. Like I almost wanted to cry when I said that. I don't know why. But they were like tears of joy. But I could feel tears welling up in my eyes. I know why you're reading, um, or why I was called to do your reading now. It's because your spiritual team needs your attention right now. All right. Well, hello. This is the Fool. How beautiful. It's like you are listening to your spiritual team and you're saying, yes, okay, let's do it. Where are we going? You know, judgment would tell you, well, you have the pen, my dear. You are the writer of this chapter. I'm here to guide you. But it's really, what are you passionate about? What is it you'd like to see in your life? Let's remember one thing though. The Fool, with all this energy above, is not carrying that energy along. And that is probably why the Eight of Cups is here. That is like understanding it as much as we can. Sometimes things were just free will. You know, some of these, let's say, emotional situations were when we were younger, when we were dumber. You know what I mean? When you know better, you do better. So, anyways, I love the Fool. Following just look at the difference in the lines, right? This is what I feel is opening up now. This is what I feel like you've been going through. All right. We have the Four of Swords. Beautiful. Under emotional loss is healing. Healing. Oh, and what are you healing? The Three of Swords. Heartache and loss. You've been keeping it to yourself. And now I feel like it's time to let it go. And if this is a loss, like of someone from this earthly plane, I'm telling you that they're here, that you didn't lose them. It feels that way. I get it. My son crossed over. And it's one of those things where you think, how am I ever going to survive? But then you do. For me, through God's grace, material and spiritual prosperity. This may be why your spiritual team is calling you to the present moment. And also, Mother Mary, whatever I am most passionate about is the direction I flow. So this is a great omen for your money, but also your spirituality. You put the two together, what a force. We're going to put that right there. And I'm going to take one more card and put it on the other side. And we have your intuition. Your intuition. And this is the High Priestess. And the High Priestess would tell the Fool, I am your GPS. Follow me. That first instinct. Don't second guess it. That's what many of us do. That first initial instinct. Trust in it. I love intuition mirroring material and spiritual prosperity because I feel like the direction forward, it feels like it's going to be pretty clear. Conflict and defeat on the bottom of the deck. So the good news about this is what's on the bottom of the deck usually is what wants to go. Partnerships and alliances. Something may have broken there, turned into conflict and defeat. At least that's the way you feel or felt. And remember, it's a 5, so it's also about change. There's no doubt in my mind that some of you have been through a hard time. No doubt. But This is a little bit about where you've been, but this is really talking about how to clear that energy because it was probably outside of your control anyway. In the Nine of Swords, we can try to force something, especially as it relates to love. Like, I don't want to let it go. But what I really want to focus on is this new cup that's coming in, this new cup of fulfillment. And it's coming directly from your spiritual team, which again is connected to the wheel. So it's like, I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about where you've been, though I feel like it's so important to understand that. Just so I know, when I'm reflecting back, what I want to look at is how I have grown through any situation, especially the ones that maybe I didn't even ask for. Did I get stuck? Which is normal. But I feel like you had the ability here. That's what it feels like, to break it down to the point. And by the way, don't try to break every cup down unless you want to. Um, but again, whatever you have lost on an emotional nature, something else is coming in. Something, I don't want to say to replace it, because this is a cup of its own. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not so and so's replacement. I'm yours. All right, let's bring in the crystal vision and let's go even deeper. You know, let's just take one more second to look at this bottom line because I want you to notice, number one, how under emotional loss you have healing. And this healing is also of the heart, but it's also helping to heal the mind. So those thoughts that get, that go rogue, so to speak, it's helping to heal you. I want to say completely, but I don't know that we're ever healed 100%. But I love how the Fool is listening to their spiritual team, who is calling them to the present moment and saying, let the past be the past. This is about what's next for you. And in the world, this is your new chapter. I mean, it literally is, but it does mean something has come to completion. Wow. It's mirroring the Three of Swords. So if that's what's coming to completion, I'll take it. We'll take it. And your spiritual prosperity, that tells me that you've learned a lot on a spiritual level. But I also feel for some of you, especially with the Four of Swords right next to the Fool, I wouldn't be surprised when, if an opportunity shows where you then can help others. I mean, who better to help than someone who has been through it? And it's definitely showing us that you've been through it. But now this is you coming out the other end of it. And again, the Fool, I extract the wisdom of my experiences, but I leave the past in the past. But I also feel the wisdom of this Fool, which I don't normally feel, but it feels connected to again, the ability to help heal. It's like doctor heal thyself first. How can, if you don't heal yourself, how can you heal another? Okay. I'm like, did I give these a cut? I don't think I did, so I'm going to do it. Even if I did, oh well. All right. I don't know. It just feels better. I was just going to say, man, the one thing we didn't get was that 6 for the top line, but there's that 6. So now we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, interesting because when you think of 9, and we are in the last year of a 9-year cycle, even more reason to clear what I can clear because this is a new chapter that's opening up. This is a new cycle, a new 9-year cycle. And you literally have the pen and the paper and the guidance to really create in any way you see, in any way that your passion is being called to. Like, I would follow it. I feel like you've overcome so much. And I feel like I don't know, I don't want to give a number, but I feel, at least for some of you, I feel you are beyond the clearing of the past and you are moving into this new chapter. And again, it may be something like some of you may needed an answer today because something, again, has pulled me to you like today. Not just today, but now. So some of you, there's something in here that I feel like you needed to hear sooner versus later. Look at that, full right over emotional withdrawal, but it's again the 8 of Cups. Beautiful. That means you're finding this emotional clarity. This means that you're ready for this new chapter. Some of you might have just been sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. But I find this beautiful. Just going to say that. And then interesting, we have the Hangman over the 7 of Cups. So here comes this cup, right? It's asking you to choose wisely. But the Hangman is kind of a pause in the action. And I feel like that's fine because I may want to take my time deciding, choosing. I mean, choose wisely. It feels like pressure. But then with your spiritual team right below it, what the heck? They're here to guide you. And then your intuition. So the Hangman is seeking wisdom, usually spiritual wisdom, but to use on this earthly plane. So if you are seeking wisdom, and I put it down on the 7 of Swords, that wisdom, there it is. There it is. And it may feel like you are taking a blind chance. But I feel like taking a chance may be the ticket here. Like I could say that I'm ready or that I want, but then it actually shows, and I'm like, holy shit, it actually showed. Now what do I do? So I feel like I can look at this from two different perspectives. And one can be a little of like, oh my God, it actually showed. What do I do? Or another is like, well, of course it showed because I helped to manifest it. The hangman is on their way to a spiritual awakening. That's really the truth. And you have material and spiritual prosperity. So when I say this cup is coming in, it could be more than one cup, by the way, because I feel like for some, it's an opportunity to do something that you will be passionate about that is just going to make your soul happy. And for others, it could certainly be relating to love. Well, let's keep going. Again, whatever is coming in, I feel like, first of all, I feel like it's divine time. And you are listening to your spiritual team. Again, calling it to the present moment. Boom. The Fool. And the Fool doesn't really carry fear. And sometimes that can work against the Fool. Um, but I don't want to put, I don't know, I don't want to put a negative twist on this because I'm not feeling it in that way. But it could have been something of the past where, I took a leap of faith, it didn't pay off. Don't beat yourself up. That's really what I feel is like, don't, I don't know, like, don't think, like, don't put all the blame on you. That's what I feel. And I'm not sure why you'd be putting blame on you, but that may be part of what you're working out. Hello, Nine of Cups. Wow. I'm very happy to see the Nine of Cups. I have to tell you, especially in this top line. Because the top line, I feel like were all the issues we were dealing with. And now, this is emotional clarity. I think I literally said it with the Eight of Cups, that the person ultimately is looking for this inner harmony. But it's not just inner harmony, it's also fulfillment of wishes. I feel like if nothing else, this is about having emotional clarity. Doesn't always mean I'm happy with the outcome. No, I could be very sad about the outcome, but the emotional clarity that you know maybe you were forced to have, but whatever the reason, again, the Fool. This just makes total sense. The Fool over the Eight of Cups, a new beginning, right? It means that this emotional clarity is now hopefully coming to an end. And that's what ushers in this cup. But then the hangman puts a little bit of a pause on it. But I don't feel like it's for long. And remember how I said I didn't feel for everyone? Well, I mean, we'll see how it goes. But right now, there could be certainly more than one cup coming in. I feel one of the cups are for you to find this emotional or inner harmony, emotional harmony. But it's so wishes Interesting how it's touching the moon, where I feel some of your guides have been reaching you through your dreams, but they're helping you. Their ultimate goal is to help you to realize something. And when I say realize something, I mean to bring it about. And then look at this, the Four of Swords again. How interesting the Four of Swords is right below the Four of Swords. That makes sense. Four of Swords are connected. Um, Both connected to the Five of Cups. But one of them is also connected to justice. I feel like if anyone has dealt with anyone of the past, justice can represent the law. Um, Justice's job when it's in your reading is about making you whole again. But I feel like using that sword, and I have to tell you right now, I'm really feeling it's more energetic than anything. Like, I get this sense that I gotta stop telling myself that I can't have a good life, that I can't manifest. How can everybody else manifest, but I can't? You can. You can, and you have. You just may not have realized it. Think of your intentions, because your intentions are 9/10 of the law. And it really feels like what your spiritual team is doing here is showing you how you have evolved. And this is why, I'm going to call them wishes, like wishes being granted, but these are soul's desires being granted. So to the human part of us, it feels like a wish, like, wow. But to our soul, it's like, this is what I wanted. This is an adventure that I wanted to have in this lifetime. I can't help think that some of you have become healers. And I know I say that a lot in the readings, but I do feel like I have a lot of healers. And it makes me want to go back to Doctor Heal Thyself. And then once you have healed yourself, it's like then you get that degree. And now you're a real doctor. But I mean, not a real doctor, but unless you are a real doctor. Because when I say I feel like there's a lot of healers, I don't mean like you have to do tarot or this. I mean, there could be, it's just using your spirituality within your existing business. Or for some of you, you may be creating something new. And maybe you haven't trusted yourself. And maybe there were words of someone else, you know, telling you you couldn't, you wouldn't, that negative talk. But we got to shut that down, right? That's just one perspective and again, you want to look at the source. Because sometimes the people would tell us that we won't amount to anything are the ones who aren't amounting to anything on their own anyway. So, where did that source? Though I also want to say, I feel that there's some father figures, as soon as I said that, who understand that they were not perfect in this lifetime with you. Um, and truly ask for your forgiveness for that. They're not the same now. They are surrounded in light. This is interesting, but I feel like someone wondered, like, where did they go? Did they go to heaven or did they go to hell? They went to heaven. Okay, let's keep going. Well, here comes that cup. The Knight of Cups. Unexpected cup of fulfillment. Coming into the reading. He's going to be coming in. Right over the Nine of Swords. Exactly why seeing healing right before that, it's almost like it's saying you have an opportunity to heal the past so it doesn't turn into the Nine of Swords. So you don't become fearful. Like, I cannot see you sitting in your home alone for long. Like, I just can't see it. And I know some of you are, but if you are, I feel like you're waiting. Waiting is not the right word. Um, I feel like as this adventure comes toward you, I feel like more of you are going to say yes than no. But this is literally showing us that the Knight of Cups is coming in and he's mirroring the Fool, the risk taker. Maybe if I didn't clear this old energy, I would have said no right off the bat. But because I did, and now you're sitting in the Nine of Cups energy with inner harmony, and you have the Fool right below that and the Fool right here, who knows? This could be two different people about to take an adventure together, maybe about to start a life together. All right, well, let's keep going. All right, we're going to take what's face up first. We have the Five of Pentacles. Then we have the High Priestess. Again, your intuition. Look at this. The Ace of Pentacles. This is why your spiritual team is calling you to the present moment. It's coming right over the Fool. The Ace of Pentacles represents something that's coming into your physical world. It's tangible. You can touch it. For some of you, you can kiss it. The Ace of Pentacles to me gives you the way, whatever it may be. And I love that it's coming over the Fool. This ace is the one ace that I feel like if I nurture it, if I treat it like a seed and understand that it needs sun, it needs nurturing for it to really grow and blossom, then I feel like this is the one seed that keeps sending out new seeds. So I don't feel like it's a one-time thing. Like it just grows and grows if I nurture it. But look at the energy connected to it. First of all, your spiritual team calling you to the present moment and you are listening. And then this Ace of Pentacles, well, here comes one of these wishes. The Nine of Cups, fulfillment of wishes, not fulfillment of a wish, fulfillment of wishes. So, and then you got material and spiritual prosperity. So I feel like this Knight of Cups is an offer of love. And I also find it interesting we have two Fools. So they may be guided together, unbeknownst to each other, clearly soulmates. Otherwise, your spiritual team, I don't think would be involved here. Free will, they let you just be. That's your free will. But if there is a soul desire, or let's say maybe even predestined, it still doesn't guarantee us because we do have free will. But if you're sitting in the Nine of Cups, you look at these opportunities much differently. Number one, because you have inner harmony, I feel like it's totally fine to take a moment as this night comes in. By the way, this night has to travel through the Four of Swords. So this night's not broken, right? This night itself has gone or will go through the healing stage before it even reaches you. And I feel like that's a sense of comfort. Your intuition is a big key here because that's what you want to trust. So as these opportunities start coming towards you, and they are, trust your intuition. Now, we do have to go back to the Five of Cups because the Five of Cups may have been the starting point of everything that was. In the Five of Cups, it normally talks about something that happens outside of our control. Doesn't mean it was easy, it's quite the opposite. But I do feel in the Five of Cups that we don't often have the luxury of like just crying in our bed. Like, I have to keep moving. I have to, I have to go to work. I have to do this. I have to do that. But you're feeling it. But that's the thing, is this was outside of your control. And that Nine of Swords, excuse me, that's what we're worrying about. Things that we can't control anyway. That's why Spirit wants you to let it go. Put it in our hands. Two Fools, two Four of Swords. I mean, number one, this is relating to love, which I feel like that is one of the things, just one of the things. Then how beautiful that they're in the same vibrational energy, which I think is also important. Especially if you yourself have done, like, have found emotional clarity, at least enough, which it definitely feels like you have because then the Fool shows. So I feel like it is you saying, okay, I am ready to take a leap. And maybe I don't even know what it is about yet, but I'm ready to start something new. I'm letting go of the past. Hello, Ace of Swords, which honestly is called, I don't know why I just said honestly, which is called truth. Honestly. I don't even know why I said that. Well, this could be communication. Look at all the roses around it. Over the Four Swords. It's interesting. I feel like this is twofold. Number one, I feel like it's some special spiritual guides sending you their love. Like, I feel that. Like, I'm sending you my love. And I hope you feel it. I feel like some of you right now, like, you may be getting touched, like right on your hair, or maybe even just like a little touch on your hand. If you don't feel it right now, you're going to feel it today. Two aces back to back. So, the Ace of Swords can certainly talk about communication is coming in. You know, it's interesting, we have all these butterflies, and that makes me think of transformation, right? From the caterpillar to the butterfly. And I even like the way the communication is because there is this healing taking place first and foremost. It's interesting also because it's touching the Five of Cups, where we know when this person decides not to focus on or keep their focus on what they've lost and start looking towards the future, because five is asking for change. Remember that there are two cups behind that person. Well, this may be communication, but then again, I feel like probably unexpected. Chariot. Beautiful. Chariot. Let me tell you, the first thing the chariot needs to become unlimited potential. That is the meaning of the chariot. It needs balance. You know, if it doesn't have balance, it's like ordering a car and then the car shows up with all four tires flat. Wow, what good is that? I can't even get to the gas station. This is also the balance of light and dark. That's why you notice the horses and their colors. It's also the balance of the feminine and the masculine. Also, card of Cancer, by the way. I feel like this night comes in. You say yes, but I want to go slow. I feel like you physically come together. I feel like this communication is what's going to link the two of you, the similarities that you've experienced, even the healing process that you've both been through. And maybe both of you have been through a divorce, but both of you definitely had to cut ties. I can't help but connect that because that's the way it's showing. But I do feel through communication, this helps you understand that this isn't just anybody. This is a soulmate. And, excuse me, I often feel soulmates do go through very similar type of situations. And one of the reasons why, because I feel like who better to understand you than someone that has been there? Doesn't mean everything's going to be exactly the same, but I can tell you there's something about this communication that I feel is going to open the door to the rest of your lives. I don't feel like you'll be thinking about that Three of Swords anymore. I just don't. And I even feel like for some of you, you know, this isn't about someone who's left this world, but it's about someone who maybe broke your heart. Well, in a way, and I know not everybody likes to hear this, but in a way, I feel like they may have done you a favor. Though I know it wasn't easy, I know that. And your spiritual team knows that. But truth be told, I wouldn't be surprised if your guides even made things even more uncomfortable. You know, they can't make you make a change, but they can make things uncomfortable. You know, these challenges and feeling defeated, but then coming back from that. These challenges probably taught you this conflict. I feel like I don't want it anymore. All right, I'm going to go right below. Also, just the Knight of Cups connected to the Chariot. The Knight of Cups connected to the Fool. Even the Fool mirroring the Five of Pentacles. What was, right? What happened to me outside of my control? But then what am I doing next? We have the King of Wands. Can be you. Another Sag, Aries, Leo. It's coming over the Five of Pentacles, so part of me feels like it's not you, but let's continue. Look at this. We have the World right next to the World, coming over Judgment with the High Priestess right there. Look at this. Two Worlds, two High Priestess, two Fools, two Four of Swords. And then look at this. The Four of Wands. I will take it. This is, well, they call it the marriage card. But this is true commitment. This is true love. It really is. It's true love. How this man put this woman on this horse. It's like someone putting you on a pedestal. And the horse is pure. Their love is pure. This may be someone you spend the rest of your life with. And this is the type of love where I'm not going to say it's perfect because let's face it, we're human. But I do feel like someone's putting you on a pedestal. Someone knows your value and you theirs. I feel like in the Four of Wands, when these two come together, it almost feels impossible to break them up. And that may be why Firm Foundation is also here. Another four. And it's in the same line. But it's also in the same line as the Fool. The Ace of Pentacles, which means coming into your physical world. The Nine of Cups, inner harmony. And now the Moon certainly takes on very dreamy type energy. Some of you are falling in love, but a type of love that I don't feel like you've experienced yet. Like when I feel like your soul is calling for this. Wow. Boy, does your soul know best. And the similarities are really off the chart. Okay, let's keep going. The Eight of Wands. What I think about, I bring about. What I think about, I bring about. This is an energy of your intentions and what you're sending out to the universe and what is coming back. This can represent fast moving energy. Normally, you'll see these horses like all scattered. These horses are actually in line, though. What I think about, I bring about. And so it is. And so it is. You know, I'm hoping because the first line was pretty difficult. I'm hoping people didn't click off because of that. Because when you do, of course, they've already clicked off. But I feel like our silver lining comes midway towards the end of a reading. But it makes perfect sense to me because it's like a roadmap of how to really let these dreams really become our reality. I don't do this just to like throw cards on a table. I truly want to help you through our spiritual team reach your highest potential. And I do feel like I probably caught a lot of you in that first line. So I hope that you stuck with this because everything is changing. Six of Wands again. Six of Wands. Victory and success. And then look at this, the star. Your hopes, your dreams, your wishes, but manifesting them. It's like the star was here all along, but kind of hidden. But now here it is. And I feel like when it talks about your dreams, your wishes becoming your reality, well, the eight of wands is important because what I think about, I bring about. But if I'm doing it from a perspective of letting the past be the past, even if this may be someone of the past, like I can't leave that off the table because that's my life. But it's not. I feel like it's not who you had to get over. It just doesn't feel, unless, of course, they went through the same energy you did. They healed what needed to be healed. That's the one thing about the Four of Swords. Yes, it's healing a broken heart, but it's also healing the mind and ourselves. Like the extra sword is the sword of our own making. But I really feel it's not only healing the heart, it's healing the mind. And when I say the mind, I mean like where maybe before I wouldn't jump into the fool's energy. And now I understand. Now I'm understanding. That's really what I feel like. I'm understanding energy. I'm understanding that, yes, things do come to completion, but that's not the end, right? It's just the beginning of something new, but something beautiful. Also, card of Aquarius, by the way. So, this King of Wands, I don't know. I just get a feeling that this king, well, I'm not feeling that he is part of your future. I want to take a card right over him. Look at that. The King of Swords is like we just switched kings. We just switched kings. So, what would the King of Swords represent? Truth, honesty, integrity. Don't even think about the sign, though it is now mirroring Aquarius. But it is about truth and honesty, integrity, good communication. You know, if it was reverse, it'd be the opposite, but he's not in reverse. But it literally feels like we just switched kings or queens. Okay. Okay. I'm going to let that be because I feel like it's very clear. But what I'm going to do is bring out the clarifying love situations. And I love this deck because it doesn't always talk about love. And there's no way I want you to overlook like how you can have true victory for yourself in your material and spiritual world. But you can also have true victory in love. But it did take the overcoming and even the understanding that not all things were meant to work out. And maybe, just maybe, this difficult time I've been through was really to help get me ready for the potential of what's coming in. You know, this Knight of Cups is not just any knight because it lands in the Four of Wands energy. And that's true commitment. That is true love. But it's showing us that it's physically coming in. And it's also connected to the Fool, who is also mirroring the Fool. I know I'm repeating myself, but I just want you to understand that. But I was talking about, it's funny, I was going to say, it's also talking about your material world and what you do in the world. And I feel like using your experiences, you know, for the better and maybe even to help others. Whatever you want to do, I feel like there's no limit. You know, it's just showing you have the ability to truly find success for yourself. I mean, how beautiful to find material and spiritual success and the love of your life. I mean, when I feel called to a reading, I know there's something major, and my God, this is pretty major. All right. We have looming agenda. You have different ideas about love and intimacy. Okay. Well, that makes sense. I feel like that's your past. Consumed. Extinguish doubt by having open communication. Interesting because I feel like that is when the Knight comes in and the Ace of Swords, this open communication. And I do feel like it's through this communication that's truly going to connect you. And then we have ticking clock. Let love unfold naturally and give it time to grow. That's exactly what you're doing. That's exactly what you're doing with the Nine of Cups and then the Hangman. But it's asking you just to let it unfold naturally. Well, that's kind of what the Fool does. So I feel like all the advice you're getting, it feels like the majority you have put into action or will be putting into action. All right, let's top this off with the romance angels. What a reading. All right. Stay optimistic about your love life. Positive thinking and faith will bring you romance. These are your intentions you're putting out there. Positive thinking and faith will bring you romance. Enthusiasm, whatever I'm most passionate about, is the direction I flow. And then we have healing family issues. Interesting. Your love life benefits as you forgive your parents. And did I not feel like there was a father who is asking for that? And, I just know this from a spiritual sense that holding, how do I say this? Like forgiving someone doesn't mean you have to pick up the phone. Some of you can't pick up the phone. But let's say this is talking about someone who's left this world. Just say it. I forgive you. I forgive you. But it's so you don't have to carry it. It is interesting because it is a father with two children. All right. Chemistry. There's a strong magnetic attraction here. Well, you can't deny that. And someone from your past is returning to your life. Interesting. Now, it can be someone you already know, of course. And again, I cannot leave that off the table because that is my life. And for those who don't know, just very quickly, the person I'm with now, Sam, we were teenage lovers. We broke up. And then 40 years later, I was in a different state. I was living in Rhode Island. He was in Pennsylvania. He reached out and called me. And from that moment on, the connection never stopped. It did take me it took me 5 years to actually make the move here, which I did. March of 2020 to be exact. Right? 2020, yeah. Um, so I can't leave that off the table. Though I do want to say that I definitely am feeling past life loves. And I do feel that, well, probably for the majority, if not everyone, that this is predestined. So, even if you've loved in this lifetime, you've loved in previous lifetimes always, or also. It's interesting how I said always, because I was just thinking to myself that not every lifetime soulmates or twin flames, because it could definitely be talking about a twin flame also. Um, we don't always come into each other's lives, or we come in as different, like in this lifetime I'm a woman, but in my past lifetime I was a man. You know what I mean? So it's almost like, did we switch roles? Maybe. But, just look at them. They're up in the clouds. They're up in the clouds. And the chemistry, off the charts. Off the chart. But different. Probably different than you've ever felt. But still, it's okay to take it slow. We don't have to rush. And, maybe that's why I told you it took me 5 years before Sam and I came together. We continued talking every single night for hours. Like, I didn't watch TV after that because all I did when I got home from work was taught to Sam all night long, to the point where I'd be like, I have to go to bed. I have to go to work tomorrow. But here's the thing. I feel like the main thing that's happening here is your spiritual team is just asking you to let go of the past, understand it as much as you can, but then let that be and just be open to the potential of your tomorrow. I'm saying tomorrow, but I feel like even today, because there was something about today and right now that I was meant to do your reading. So I just trust that there are some special messages here that people really needed to hear, and I'm happy to be the vehicle that brought it to you. And I thank your guides for being so clear, and my guides, our guides. I don't know why I'd separate them, our guides, for being so clear. Now, some of you may be like, well, wasn't that clear to me? And I know you're going to hate this when I say it, but you may need to watch it again. Because, I say this in personal readings all the time. Like, watch your reading, of course. But I feel like the first time you watch it, you're really using your human ears. And then I ask or I suggest that they watch their reading again, but then with spiritual ears, like when they're ready. Personal readings are very in depth, with a lot of information. So, I tell them, keep it in your back pocket. Don't be afraid to pull out a reading, an older reading, because it may just be your perfect time. But part of me feels like for some of you, this is like a personal reading, as far as I could go. But wow, if I was going to say, if we could just skip the top line, but we don't want to skip that top line because that's the line that taught us. That's the line that got us ready. So skipping it would just be kind of pushing problems down instead of getting them out. Get them out of you. Be free and clear within, and then watch what returns to you. And so it is. And so it is. And I may even title your video that, and so it is. I love you guys. I thank you. I cannot wait to hear your comments, if you will, about how this relates to you. Why, did you feel it's something you needed like right now? You don't have to answer, but I love that validation, that confirmation, because I felt it so strongly. So when you can back that up for me, I mean, not that you have to, you know what I'm saying, but I love hearing your stories. And honestly, I feel like when you leave comments like your stories, especially those who've been in the top line, but now are like, the sun is shining again, you only help others. So when I talk about healers, sometimes a comment is healing. You don't know who you're healing, but divine does. And that's really what our purpose is about. It's not about how much money we make, how big our house is. It's about who we help, how we help. And so it is. I love you guys. I thank you. I'll see you next time at our table. Bye bye.